The first Sunday of February 2020, you're either celebrating a groundhogless Groundhog Day or maybe this American cultural phenomenon known as the Super Bowl. What you won't see during TV coverage of the NFL event is PETA's ad, an homage to Colin Kaepernick. PETA was told the ad was barred from airing by the NFL. It's like the treatment Kaepernick, the former NFL quarterback, got. The story next on the PETA podcast. Welcome to the PETA podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo, your host for this behind-the-scenes look at PETA, the largest animal rights organization in the world. On today's episode, PETA tried to place an ad during the Super Bowl on Fox, but it may have been too controversial for the NFL.
The NFL saw the spot and made sure that it didn't see air. And
they said no. They specifically said no from a source. The NFL rejected the ad?
Yeah, the NFL put pressure on the ad company and evidently the network to not run the ad. And there is no bigger bully than the NFL. You look at what they did to Kaepernick.
Lisa Lange, Senior VP of Communications for PETA, said the ad was inspired by Kaepernick and his simple but effective protests against police violence, the act of kneeling. PETA simply extended the message to include all members of the animal kingdom.
And so what we're saying is we need to end speciesism. We need to stop looking at others who are different from us, whether they're women, whether they are African American people, whether they are animals, and respect the individual for who they are. Understanding that every individual deserves equal consideration based on their needs. And the needs of a cow are different from the needs of a rat, and they're different from my needs as a grown woman. But we all deserve consideration. And that's what this ad is asking people to think about.
Here's more of my conversation with PETA's Lisa Lange and the ad the NFL apparently doesn't want you to see on the PETA podcast.
So where did you get the idea, or how did the idea come about that, the animals and the animation? How did it start?
It wasn't our idea. We went to a creative team that we have worked with before and said, hey, we would love it if you could present some ideas on how we can get the message out there about our End Speciesism campaign. Speciesism is it's the supremacist view that we as humans somehow have the right to abuse and to kill animals simply because they're a different species than us. And that is not only unkind, but it's unscientific to think that just because we're of a different species, that somehow they don't suffer like we do, or they don't feel hunger, pain, thirst, love, all the things that matter. And so we're fighting speciesism. And we took this idea to them and we explained what the campaign is and said, come back to us with some ideas. And this ad that we're discussing was one of the ideas they came back with. And we fell madly in love with it instantly.
How would you describe it to our listeners? They can go to PETA.org and see it, of course. But how would you describe it? It's an animation and very moving. Yeah,
it is. It's kind of an old-fashioned animation, and it's just beautifully done by an illustrator that we hired named Fons, and he, you hear the national anthem being hummed beautifully, and you see it ends up being a bird's eye view of various animals in different settings, from coyotes and snakes and fish and rats and sheep and a little girl camping, and then it ends with a bald eagle. And as you kind of swoop through these beautiful, idyllic outdoor settings of animals where they belong and where they should be living, each takes a knee, paying homage to, of course, the wonderful Colin Kaepernick and his protest of police killing of Black men and women. And then it ends with a bald eagle, of course, the symbol of America, taking a knee. And then it says, Respect is the right of every living being. Hashtag end speciesism. When they sent the idea to us, of course, it wasn't rendered yet, but when they sent the idea to us, I think it had the same effect on me, and I think I can speak for some of my colleagues, as watching Colin Kaepernick take a knee for the first time. I found that so touching. This is a man a brave, gentle man who risked everything. He had a career in the NFL. And in some ways you could argue that because of his fame and because of his wealth, they make a lot of money when you play for the NFL. He was somewhat insulated from the racism, or at least not from the racism, but feeling it as acutely as other Black people do. But it didn't matter to him. He took a knee during the national anthem to protest violence against Black people, and as he says, systematic oppression on the whole. And he paid dearly for it. And this is the kind of empathy that we're talking about, that we're not even asking people to take the risks Colin Kaepernick took. He lost his career in the NFL because he stood up against violence. And he did it in such a beautiful, and I might add, patriotic way. The idea, the Constitution of the United States, we have the right to freedom of speech. And he used his speech by taking a knee instead of putting his hand over his heart during the national anthem, saying that I believe in this country and all it stands for, but it doesn't always believe in me as a Black man. And I thought that was one of the most moving, brave things I've seen anyone do in a very long time. And what it was empathy. It was the definition of empathy. And that it was coming from this gentle, thoughtful, vegan man moved us all. And it was a show of respect, and it was a show of love, and it was a show of empathy that PETA absolutely stood behind.
Well, so tell me, when people see this, I mean, besides PETA people, but when the public sees this, will they have that same reaction? Because a lot of people had very strong reactions, thought what Colin Kaepernick did by kneeling was provocative, and the backlash that he felt. And then, so what happens to those people when they see it? They're going to react. And what is the connection between what Kaepernick was kneeling for and the animals? How would you explain that to people?
Well, I think, first of all, there will be people who didn't like what he did, which I really don't understand, but there people didn't like what he did that will have a problem with our ad. And that's a discussion we want to have. I mean, this is a discussion piece. He did what he did to get the world to notice. And all of a sudden, people who weren't even giving police violence or violence against Black people or the Black Lives Matter movement any thought in their everyday lives, they were talking about it. And they might not have agreed with him, but he made it a conversation piece. And he made people sit up and think about it. And no, not everybody liked what he did, but it got people talking. And that's what we need in all of these movements for social justice. The connection here that we see between what he did and what we're trying to do is to fight, as he says, systematic oppression. And we're asking people to extend that, to understand the oppression and the abuse and the slaughter of animals. We kill animals by the tens of millions in this country alone every day. We do it for makeup. We do it because we want their fur and their skins to wear for ourselves. We do this because we think it's really funny to watch a monkey in a TV program. And this is abusive. And this is, at its most basic level, it's stealing from them. It would be like going up to your neighbor and going, I really like your coat, and just taking it from them and thinking you have the right to do it. But worse than that, we're taking from them what they depend on for life and to enjoy their lives. We take their family members. We steal their babies from them in the dairy industry to enslave and rape the mothers so that we can drink the milk intended for their babies. And then we turn calves into veal. That's stealing their lives for a palate preference. And so what we're saying is we need to end speciesism. We need to stop looking at others who are different from us, whether they're women, whether they are African American people, whether they are animals, and respect the individual for who they are. Understanding that every individual deserves equal consideration based on their needs. And the needs of a cow are different from the needs of a rat, and they're different from my needs as a grown woman. But we all deserve consideration. And that's what this ad is asking people to think about.
So when you see this ad, of course, no one's thinking about Colin Kaepernick when they see the ad yet. But then they see the animals take a knee, and then they have the Star Spangled Banner, and it's a Super Bowl ad. And then I guess people get the connection, and all the bells go off, and they say yes, or they get angry, but at the end, there's a discussion. Or there's a realization, or the provocative nature of the ad, as quiet and as soft, and and as kind-hearted as it is, it sets off this provocative reaction, and you want to have that conversation.
We do. We're asking people to challenge their beliefs. We're asking people to get out of their comfort level, not unlike what Colin Kaepernick did. Do you think that was easy for him to do that? I mean, the way the NFL came down on him and others in the league, I mean, that is, it was extraordinary. And in this case, we are saying to people, yes, I mean, for example, you're seeing all of these people around the world posting pictures and video of kangaroos and koalas dying in the bushfires, the hideous bushfires in Australia. And celebrities are among them, raising money and saying, what can we do? Please send money to these groups in Australia. And we're saying, take personal responsibility. Anyone who eats meat and dairy or any product that comes from animals is helping contribute in a very, very big way to climate change. These fires all over the world are starting because we have set the world on fire. We've set the earth on fire because of our habits. It isn't enough to say, oh my God, this really cute kangaroo or this really cute koala cub, it has his hands wrapped in bandages. What can we do to help? Well, you can help every day when you sit down to eat something. We're saying everybody take personal responsibility. It isn't for PETA to take care of, or it isn't for the rescue organizations on the ground in Australia to take care of. It's for us all to take care of. We share this earth. And it takes every single one of us to remember that if you want the earth to be around for all of its creatures, including your children and grandchildren, you need to start today with your own habit.
Yeah. And so all this from that 1 minute advertisement that you came up with the illustrator. Now, was Colin Kaepernick in on it at the beginning, or you did it first? And I understand there was an actual letter that the president of PETA, Ingrid Newkirk, sent to Kaepernick. And what was in that letter? What did she say?
Yeah, it's really nice. He wasn't in on it at the beginning because it was presented to us as a fully formed idea. And so we waited until we had something really beautiful to send to him, very close to it being finished. And then we sent it to him, and Ingrid Newkirk, the president of PETA, sent him a beautiful letter saying, as you no doubt know from all the times we've written and supported you online, we wanted to reach out to you today with a new ad that we've created that pays homage to what you so bravely and beautifully did to call attention to Black Lives Matter. And went on to say, we hope that you like this ad. Your opinion of this ad means everything to us and will inform what we do going forward. Because this clearly mimicked what he did. We copied what he did because we loved it so much and it was so impactful. And it was important to us that he knew that we did this with love and respect and with admiration. And he's a very, as you probably know, as listeners know, he's a very private person. He doesn't do any media interviews. He's very quiet. And he did respond, and it was he did. And through his representative said that Colin very much appreciates the acknowledgement and we were thrilled because we wanted this to be something that he understood was, of course, a tribute to him and to the risks he took. And it's clear he understood that.
I haven't met Colin Kaepernick. I've rooted for him and cheered him on. But Kaepernick is, I know him to be a private person just from, the stories I've read and the interviews that he has given. And I saw him once in a vegan restaurant in Berkeley. And this was during the time that he was banned essentially from the NFL. And he was working out with the Cal athletic folks. And he was also attending classes. And I thought to go up to him and just to introduce myself as both a person who's followed him and as a person who appreciated his actions. But, you see someone in public like that and, you just want to give them their space and let them be. But there he was. And it was unmistakably, it was Colin Kaepernick enjoying his vegan meal. And I just thought, okay, God bless him. And I hope he gets back. And that since that, the NFL has had a kind of a sham tryout, to try to get him back. And he has paid dearly. But did he say anything specifically in response, or was it through his representatives to PETA's letter or to Ingrid's letter?
It was through his representatives, which, truth be told, is usually how we hear from most celebrities we deal with. We go through their representatives. They're and he especially is an incredibly private person. But we were really thrilled to hear from him.
Well, what did the NFL say? I mean, did you try to go through the NFL to get placement for the ad?
No, you don't go through the NFL. You go through the network that runs the Super Bowl. So going back even a little further, that every year, whatever network runs the Super Bowl always says, we're running out of spots or we've sold out of spots, which usually isn't true. That's, I think, just to get people to hurry and buy Super Bowl spots. And so they announced it early that they had sold out. And evidently it was true. We never know. So we started to explore pregame spots before the holidays. And we sent the spot. It was essentially ready. They were still doing color correcting, but it was enough ready to be able to submit to Fox. And so we did. And they took the spot and they said, okay, great. We'll get some rates for you for the pregame show and for post Super Bowl. We said, okay, great. Just let us know as soon as it's accepted. And we had a conversation for weeks with them. And then the holidays happened. We thought, okay, there's going to be a bit of a delay because of the holidays. And then they just went silent.
They have to approve it, pre-approve it. You didn't know what the rates would be, but you kind of know from the past what the rates might be.
Well, if it's during the Super Bowl, which we did not get the rates for because they'd already sold out, you can pay anywhere from $5 to $10 million for a spot. They say though that it's worth it. And, if we've never run anything during the Super Bowl. We've had all of our ads rejected up to this point. I think if we were accepted, who knows, maybe someone who believes in the cause or who believes, whatever might front the money. We don't know. The prices, I believe, and we never were able to finally get this nailed with them because they just wouldn't accept the ad. But the prices for a pregame show and after are considerably less. Then you fast forward, and we ended up hearing from the ad agency, the Philadelphia-based ad agency, from a source there, and then a source also from the network, that the NFL saw the spot and made sure that it didn't see air.
And they said no. They specifically said no from a source. The NFL rejected the ad?
Yeah, the NFL put pressure on the ad company and evidently the network to not run the ad. And there is no bigger bully than the NFL. You look at what they did to Kaepernick, and you look at, there's a story out this month about racism in the NFL, and 70% of the players are African American. There are only 3 head coaches that are African American. There was a big story just recently on this. And, they're plagued with accusations of racism. And our Taking a Knee ad is a reminder of everything that Colin Kaepernick and some of his fellow players brought to the fore. And the NFL came down so hard on them for what? It's his right not to put his hand over his heart and and sing the national anthem. It's his right to take a knee if that's what he decides to do. It causes no harm to anyone else any more than our message of kindness and empathy in our ad does. But the NFL is used to pushing people around, and that's what they've also done with this spot and to us.
Yeah. Now, you got that from a source. Did the NFL contact you directly, or was it the ad agency that said, hey, I'm sorry, PETA, we can't do this?
It was not the NFL directly, no. I mean, and you know, it's true with most bullies. They won't ever face you face to face. They'll come down in ways that will make it difficult for you to get your message out, which was exactly what they did to Kaepernick and some of his other players. But no, they haven't said it directly to us.
And what did the ad people say? They just said, sorry, can't do it, or was it just silence and they just dropped it?
They let us know that they had to separate themselves from the ad that they created and had come up with a plan to promote because the NFL put pressure on them. And
the actual people who came up with the idea, who presented it to you, the ad agency, got pressure, not just the ad takers at Fox, but the people who created the ad?
The ad agency, yes. The ad agency. We've been down this road before when we've had spots created for us, and then we found out the ad agency represents or takes money from a company that we oppose. They catch wind that the ad agency is working with PETA, then they put pressure on the ad agency. The ad agency isn't in business to just make ads for fun. They're in business to make ads for money. And a threat from an agency like the NFL is going to come down hard on someone, and I understand that. This isn't their fault. This is the NFL once again trying to silence a message of peace and silence a message promoting social justice. And it's shameful, and it's not unexpected in any way because you just look at the behavior. I'm not a big fan of Roger Goodell. If that isn't clear, it should be clear. The people who put work into this ad, they put their heart and soul into this. They had nothing to do with the decision, and they're incredibly lovely humans.
But they're fine with PETA running the ad online or, displaying it, but they just were unable to put it on the Super Bowl or any of the adjacent spots around the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. And this is up to us. We own the ad. So what we do going forward with it is up to us. And so we will. I mean, we're devising ways of getting it up and out and seen and all of that because it's an important discussion piece. And we're very proud of the work. We were very grateful to the creatives behind it. We're excited about the discussions we think we'll be having because of it.
So this really is the ad that the NFL doesn't want people to see.
Yeah, and it's usually a network that decides, well, we're not going to run a PETA ad because, we've got a fast food company like McDonald's running ads throughout the Super Bowl, and we don't want to make our other advertisers angry. But evidently this came straight from the NFL itself. They took a hit when they came down so hard on Colin Kaepernick. Not by everybody. Sure, there were people who, didn't like what Kaepernick did. But a lot of people did. Well, remember the Nike ad that he did after that. People greatly admired Kaepernick for it and really hated the NFL for the way they treated him. Yeah. He never worked again.
Well, here's the thing that's really funny, that this is the first Super Bowl that the San Francisco 49ers have been in since 2012. That, unfortunately, and the 49ers have been in 6 Super Bowls, but that Super Bowl in 2012 was the one that the 49ers lost. So they're 5-1 in Super Bowl appearances. And the quarterback in that 2012 appearance for the 49ers was Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. And he made it would have been a historic comeback, but he fell short by 3 points and the 49ers lost that. Another irony is that the quarterback that everyone is raving about, the Kansas City Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes, who's in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, is almost like I don't want to say a carbon copy, but his style of play is very similar to Colin Kaepernick's. And so It's just ironic that they're hoisting up Mahomes and they're downplaying Kaepernick, even though Kaepernick back in 2012 was kind of the prototypical of the future of NFL quarterbacks. And because of his political stance, his career has ended. So I just think the irony of ironies, and then PETA comes out with this ad, which I think reminds people of that and also of the bigger, broader issue of speciesism. And I think it's great that PETA has come forward and is doing this. Where can people see it? They'll be certainly on PETA.org, but where else can people see it?
Well, for now, that is where you can go to see it, and then we'll see what else we're able to do. But that is that's the best place to see it at this point.
And what kind of plans? I mean, what kind of reaction do you think you're gonna get? I mean, certainly you put it out there, and PETA puts out anything, and it's going to get a reaction. You already have a reaction from the NFL. What of the other folks who they may have disagreed with Kaepernick? Are you prepared for that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I have no patience for people who thought that he was wrong to do what he did. I personally don't. To me, as I mentioned earlier, our ad and what he did are the most patriotic things you can do. That's what this country is about, standing against injustice, or in this case, taking a knee.
I saw the ad, and it really is so touching to see. And when you see the bald eagle kneel down, it's a great moment. So I think it's terrible the NFL would censor the ad or do what it does to make sure that it's not seen. But people can see it, and they'll go to PETA.org and see that 1 minute ad to end speciesism.
We will have the last laugh. We will. I mean, the NFL has met its match. So people will see the spot. It will spark a dialogue about all manner of issues, all social justice movements that we are in support of. And we'll have a discussion about ending speciesism.
Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's our program. You can contact us at PETA.org. You can find me on Twitter at Emil Amok, that's EMILAMOK, or on ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog, or my website, AMOK.com. I'm doing a new one-man show, Emil Amok, Married to PETA, and Other Love Stories. It's my own animal kingdom journey. It's coming this weekend, February 1st, and again on February 6th. Just 2 dates in San Francisco's Potrero Stage. It's my Spalding Gray imitation, where I ask, can a pig-eating Filipino dude find his way to veganism and his rightful place among the animals? Go to AMOK.com for details. And once again, thank you for listening. Check out all our episodes on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show. It helps get the word out about the issues you care about. Our music provided by Carbon Works. Check them out on YouTube. And join us again next time for more insight into animal rights and the fight for a cruelty-free world on the PETA Podcast. I'm Emil Guillermo.